Hey guys, how you doing? So I'm going to answer 9 questions about my entrepreneurial experience that were sent to me a little while back. So let's get to it. Number one, how did you research the feasibility of your business ideas? So when you're researching business ideas, this is for me, it's a bit of an organic process where I just do what I do in life, walk around, talk to people, I just doing my thing, and then I see what comes up. You talk as you're talking to business owners, small business owners, you're networking with people, and then ideas will come up. So, for example, I found myself recently. We're in the AI age. I had people, restaurant owners, asking me about if I could develop an AI answering service that would take calls and route orders to the kitchen. So this is an example of how an idea just comes about. I remember my very first company, we're going to go way back to the 1990s, where I was like a hobbyist. I kept fish, rare fish, discus and African Rift Valley cichlids and so forth. So those type of fish, especially the discus in particular, have very particular requirements. And so I needed a very particular type of water purification resins, so that the water was acceptable for the discus. Anyway, long story short, so I found some supplier out in the middle of nowhere, and they didn't have distribution in Canada. So that became a business idea. I said, "Oh, this product. I can't get it in Canada. Nobody distributes it, and there's a need. It's a very niche need, but there's a need." So I made a business out of it. So bottom line, when you're researching feasibility of business ideas, it has to be on the ground. It has to be talking to your prospective clients. So you want to get your minimum viable product, your MVP. You want to get that thing, your proof of concept business idea, into the hands of who your clients would be as quickly and as cheaply as possible. So if you're looking at this from a software development point of view, you don't want to write lock solid code. You want to write the dirtiest, messiest code possible. Vibe code it if you can. Whatever it is, use framework. Just get it out quick and see if an idea actually bears fruit. Again, you got to talk to people. You got to talk to the prospective clients. One thing you got to understand when you're dealing with people and new products, some people say, "Oh yeah," a lot of people say, rather, "Oh yeah, this sounds good." But when they have to put money down, that really tells you the story. So yeah, you have to test it, talk to people, test it. That's how you test the feasibility. Ultimately, you're not going to know until you try to get into the marketplace. Number two, how did you develop your vision for Studio Web? Well, Studio Web, when the whole gamification movement started, it was my stab at the gamification. So I developed the application based on the idea of managing groups of people, gamifying the process, and scoring them and grading them for motivation purposes, et cetera, and so forth. So I was in a fortunate position at that time, this is about 15 years ago, where I had the money and the independence where I could explore things at my leisure. So I saw the gamification come about. I had been involved in education for a while, but with no gamification features. No interactivity, just videos with some projects. So I took it to a whole new level with Studio Web. But a lot of it was conceptual. Because I wasn't exactly, I wasn't sure if it would be adopted by school districts, which it did. And I was surprised. I put out the product for the general public, and a couple of schools approached me back in about 15, 16 years ago. And they said, "Hey, does this Studio Web thing, does it work for schools?" And at the time, I only had the concept of a group. I didn't have the concept of a classroom. So I deployed it to the first 2 schools, and boy, we learned a lot. I had maybe 60% of the functionality in place in terms of the Studio Web application and in terms of curriculum. So by getting it into the schools and iterating quite quickly the application and the way it was the way the curriculum was designed and delivered changed quite a bit. So that was, well, that's how that happened. Number 3, how long did it take you to prepare your business plan? I'm not a big believer in business plans. Business plans are an academic exercise. And unfortunately, because a lot of bankers and people work at banks come from the halls of academia, business plans are kind of useless. Business plans should be on one piece of paper. These highly detailed business plans, projections, that's all just nonsense. So for me, it's all about demand. I go out there, I see whether or not people are willing to buy the product at a price that's profitable for me. That's it. And then from there, you see what happens, because you never know how the business is going to, how it's going to form, especially startups, right? When anything new. If, business plans become a little bit more relevant when you have something that's been around, a company that's active, been around for like at least 3 years. At least 3 years, where there's some stabilization in the business processes. Then you can start thinking about business plans. But when you're doing a brand new thing, business plans are such a waste of time. It's one piece of paper, that's it. Go, see what happens. Your business is established, 3 years minimum, 4 or 5, you know what's going on. Then business plans make sense where you can start allocating resources accordingly. But so I didn't write a business plan for Studio Web. I had no idea if it was going to be a business. Number 4, where did you obtain financing for your companies? Right here, right in my pocket. I never did the VC stuff. Maybe that was a mistake, maybe not. I'm a traditional bootstrapper. I'd finance my companies out of my own cash flow. That's all. If you want to finance businesses, some companies still require financing. So you're going to have a nice proof of concept application in that situation. The more you can come to the table with something concrete, the more control and the more ownership you're going to have over your business. If you're in a very hot sector, like now it's AI, you're going to have more leeway than you would if you're trying to raise money for an old school business that's well-established industry. Where did you learn the business skills needed to run and grow a SaaS business? Instincts. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, so I've been surrounded by business my entire life, since I was 10 years old. But I didn't borrow money or have money. I supported myself as a bouncer in a nightclub to get things going. My net worth when I started my business was $200 plus my mattress. And I started my first business. So I just studied, read a lot, studied a lot, had mentors. They taught me a lot. And as you do more and more deals, as you do more and more businesses, you just develop entrepreneurial skill sets. So the question was, where did you learn business skills? Books, long discussions with parents or listening to the discussions, having other mentors, and just doing business. Number 6, what entrepreneurial characteristics helped you succeed the most? Tremendous will and tenacity. That is probably the most important thing. When you're starting a business, it's a lot of ups and downs, and you just got to have will. You just got to have will to keep pushing the ball forward. Also, just being very, very careful with your money. The company is not bankrupt as long as you got money. So you want to be very careful, but you got to be very frugal, very picky about your spending. You got to be very methodical about your approach. Take your time. Don't, as Elvis once said, only fools rush in. And so that's starting a business. It's like walking on a frozen lake in the beginning of winter. You never know where the ice is weak. So you got to proceed accordingly. You got to be very adaptable. You have to be somebody who is willing to accept that they're wrong. And you have to have the attitude that you're there to help people. You're there to make their lives easier or more fun. You have to think in terms of how do I make the clients want to deal with me? And whether you're an entrepreneur, SaaS developer, or freelancer, it's always about making other people's lives easier. That's it. Number 7, what were your biggest challenges transitioning from freelancer to entrepreneur? Well, freelancer is a type of entrepreneur. It's the best way to start learning business is freelancing. When you go from freelancer, just building out, selling your time and building out spec for other people versus perhaps launching a SaaS product, you it takes more time. You don't have necessarily a defined business model. When you're offering, for example, I know software development skills, you're a WordPress developer or you're a full stack developer, you're a React developer, your product is that skill set and there's an established market for it. But when you are bringing a SaaS product to market, some new type of app or something, you have to determine or you have to sell this new service that you're providing. You have to make people aware of its value. Whereas you go in there and say, I know React or I know AI development, it's already built in, right? So the biggest challenge is just figuring out the model. The business model is much more sophisticated necessarily. Number 8, what are the most important lessons you learned building your business? I think I discussed some of that. You got to be willing to pivot. You got to fail fast, as they say. If the product or service, even if you think they're the best ever, if nobody cares, then nobody cares. Move on. Don't get married to a product. Save your money. Don't spend unless you absolutely have to. Always be cash flow positive. Always have at least a year's worth of cash on hand, so you're not starving for the next gig. It's a game of patience and persistence and flexibility of mind, and willing to accept when you fucked up. What advice do you have? Number 9, what advice do you have for developers, entrepreneurs like me? Everything I just said, you gotta research it. It's an iterative process. It is a process where you're gonna make mistakes. You gotta be willing to pivot. When you release your first piece of software, don't try to write the cleanest software that's gonna scale. That's a big mistake. Just write software just get it out the door. Because you're going to probably rewrite a lot of the guts anyway once you get feedback from people. So there you go. Those are the 9 questions about my entrepreneurial experience. If you follow what I say here, you're going to have a much greater probability of success. But no guarantees, so save.